From everything that we could hear and see, it really seemed as if the crowd at Trump's recent CNN town hall was all in on the whole MAGA thing, cheering and laughing and snickering and generally making fools of themselves. But is it possible that we have been too hard on them? Now, apparently, we're now finding out from a report, many audience members at CNN's town hall, former President Donald Trump, were disgusted and bewildered by the spectacle, but were told to be respectful and not to boo. Republican political consultant Matthew Bartlett said in an interview with Puck News, the floor manager came out ahead of time and said, please do not boo, please be respectful, you are allowed to applaud. And I think that set the tone where people were going to try their best to keep this between the navigational beacons. Is that what happened? And that if they felt compelled to applaud, they would, but they weren't gonna have an outburst and they weren't gonna boo an answer. In a TV setting, you hear the applause, but you don't see the disgust. So Trump did not have the entire room on his side, make no mistake, even if it certainly came across that way on TV. So look, if that's what the floor manager came out and said, then I wasn't there. I can't dispute that happened, but I can dispute a little bit of what he says there. So first of all, in a TV setting, you hear the applause, but you don't see the disgust. Well, it is TV though, not old time radio news hour. They could go to a shot of the crowd and show the disgust if they wanted to. They went to crowd shots to show the raucous applause, the laughter. Were the cameras off when that disgust was registering? And the idea was, okay, lots of people desperately wanted to show that they were against this guy. They were all told to keep it between the navigational beacons. I don't know, I mean, I guess the laughing at the victim of sexual assault, that isn't taking us out of the navigational beacons. Maybe he's trying to make the case that there were all sorts of people there and some of them were abiding by the rules and others were crazy and they happened to like Trump. But I don't know, the end result is still that it really did seem as if a lot of people were put in that audience that were primed to love every single vicious, horrific thing that he said. Brett, what do you think? Am I being too hard on the audience? What do you think?
No, the rules were stupid. The rules weren't even in line with their stated goal. Their stated goal was to be respectful, but a rule against booing does not ensure that the audience vibes are those of a respectful, kind, decent group. What you're doing is denying the fact that some people go woohoo as an attempt to vehemently be an a-hole. And that's all we saw. And so instead of banning disrespect and allowing respect, they just allowed the behavior of the Trump people to go however the Trump people wanted it to. And they disallowed the behavior of the respectful people to happen in a respectful way. And so what you ended up having was essentially something very similar to a laugh track on a sitcom. It's something that they put in there. Point. So that it was. Yeah,
it was some of his comments were getting the exact same. It might have literally been tape from when Al Bundy would walk through the door and then they have to pause for a minute because everyone's like, yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, and so exactly, and they're stupid. And then if you're asking like, was this calculated by the CNN people to be evil and in support of Trump? No, they're just that dumb. I will stand by the idea that these folks are just dumb. They didn't want something to be a boo fest. They didn't want it to seem like CNN had this guy on and then allowed folks to just be mean to him. Yeah. They wanted to have a civil discourse, but in the meantime, they let Trump come on there and have print out tweets and just hold court his way. It's unilateral disarmament. And so I'm not against Trump having a town hall. I'm against whatever stupid decision CNN made after that.
Yeah, I think I'm still a little bit against the town hall, especially this early. It's not like we're in the thick of the race. They have an obligation. They're choosing to engage in it early and probably repeatedly. But I think whatever, if it was the rules, which I still don't think it's the rules, I think they found a ton of Trump-loving people. Maybe not the entire room or whatever, but I think they wanted the reaction they got. I think it's dumb. I mean, look, also, how about a rule? How about this rule? The crowd should be as respectful as the candidate is being. How about that? When he's calling Caitlin Collins a nasty woman, then they should be able to respond in some way, and perhaps not booing. Perhaps booing triggers people too much. I've recently been watching wrestling again, and so I actually have a suggestion for how you can lodge your disapproval with what people are saying. There's a thing they do where whenever the person has a pause in speaking, everyone simultaneously yells out the word "what?" And if you watch it, it is shockingly effective at taking the wind out of people's sails. So anyway, I'd like to see that. Maybe I'll edit it at some point.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.